spent most of the day with the accountants. And then I dealt with the guests when I got back. Fucking forwards. And by the time Kish called me to help out with the program today, I must have still I didn't feel well. So I felt like it was almost like almost the end. I felt like I had no, I'm supposed to be in vacation from all day. The reports for the county commissioner through in. So the last trip on the boat coming back, I was ready at home. So thanks for helping out. Really good timing with this time. Yeah. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Chandra
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Chandra
So tonight it's reading from Machalila chapter 14, text 180. Performance of the Vrindavan pastimes. Do you know Lord Chaitanya? Do you know anything about Lord Chaitanya? Please come closer. You get a bit of heat from the fire. So this is explaining the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
He is Krishna himself, but he appeared in Bengal about 500 years ago. But he appeared in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Although he was actually Krishna, he's appearing in Radharani, so he's appearing as a devotee. So he's giving us the example of how we should live our lives as devotees. And there's lots of very, very nice philosophy, very nice lila in these pastimes. Main sight of Srimati Radharani's Kila Kenchita ecstasy, which is like a bouquet, bring good fortune to all. When Sri Krishna blocked Radharani's way to the Dhanagati, there was laughter within her heart. Her eyes grew bright, and fresh tears flowed from her eyes, reddening them. Due to her sweet relationship with Krishna, her eyes were enthusiastic, and when her crying subsided, she appeared even more beautiful. Agitated by tears, Srimati Radharani's eyes were tinged with red, just like the eastern horizon at sunrise. Her lips began to move with jubilation and lusty desire. Her eyebrows curved, and her lotus-like face smiled mildly. Seeing Radharani's face exhibit such emotion, Lord Sri Krishna felt 1,000,000 times happier than when he embraced her. Indeed, Lord Sri Krishna's happiness is not at all mundane. This is a quotation from the Govinda Lila Mita. Upon hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy, and being absorbed in this happiness, he embraced Swarup Damodar Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then asked Swarup Damodar, please speak of the ecstatic ornaments decorating the body of Srimati Radharani, by which he enchants the mind of Sri Govinda. Being thus requested, Swarup Damodar began to speak. All the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were very happy to hear him. Sometimes, when Srimati Radharani is sitting, or when she is going to Vrindavan, she sees Krishna. The symptoms of various ecstasies that become manifest at that time are called vilas. This is described in the following verse, taken from the Ujvala Nilamani. The various symptoms manifested in a woman's face, eyes, and other parts of her body, and the way she moves, stands, or sits when she meets her beloved are called vilas. Swarup Damodar said, timidity, jubilation, ambition, respect, fear, and the characteristics of the left-wing gopis are all ecstatic symptoms that combine to agitate Srimati Radharani. This is explained in the following verse, which is found in the Govinda Lilamrita. When Srimati Radharani saw Lord Krishna just before her, her progress stopped and she assumed an attitude of opposition. Although her face was slightly covered by a blue garment, her two starry eyes were agitated, being wide and curved. Thus she was decorated with the ornaments of vilas, and her beauty increased to give pleasure to Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Srimati Radharani stands before Krishna, she stands bent in three places, her neck, her waist, and legs, and her eyebrows dance. When there is an awakening of the various ecstatic features on Srimati Radharani's face and in her eyes that are appropriate to charming feminine attitude, the Lalita ornament is manifest. When the bodily features are delicate and expertly curved, and when the eyebrows are very beautifully agitated, the ornament of feminine charm called Lalita Alankara is manifest. This is another verse from the Ujvala Nilamani. When Lord Sri Krishna happens to see Srimati Radharani decorated with these Lalita ornaments, they both eagerly want to meet each other. When Srimati Radharani was decorated with the ornament of Lalita Alankara, just to increase Sri Krishna's love, an attractive curve was manifested by her neck, knees, and waist. This was brought about by her timidity and apparent desire to avoid Krishna. The flickering movements of her eyebrows could conquer the powerful bow of Cupid. To increase the joy of her beloved, her body was decorated with the ornaments of Lalita Alankara. This is a verse quoted from the Govinda Lilamrita. When Krishna comes forward and greedily snatches at the border of her sari, Srimati Radharani is actually very pleased within, but still she tries to stop him. This ecstatic attitude of Srimati Radharani's is called Chaitanya. When this ecstatic ornament is manifested, Radharani externally tries to avoid Krishna, and she apparently becomes angry, although she is very happy within. Oh, the fire is out. When the border of her sari and the cloth veiling her face are caught, she externally appears offended and angry, but within her heart she is very happy. Learned scholars call this attitude Kutamita. This is a quotation from the Ujvala Nilamani. Although Srimati Radharani was checking Krishna with her hand, internally she was thinking, let Krishna satisfy his desires. In this way, she was very pleased within, although she externally displayed opposition and anger. Srimati Radharani externally displays a kind of dry crying, as if she is offended. Then she mildly smiles and admonishes Lord Krishna. Actually, she has no desire to stop Krishna's endeavor to touch her body with his hands. Yet, Srimati Radharani, whose thighs are like the trunk of a baby elephant, protests his advances and sweetly smiling admonishes him. At such times, she cries without tears on her charming face. In this way, Srimati Radharani is ornamented and decorated with various ecstatic symptoms, which attract the mind of Sri Krishna. It is not at all possible to describe the unlimited pastimes of Sri Krishna, even though he himself describes them in his incarnation of Sahasravadana, the thousand-mouthed Sheshanada. At this time, Srivas Thakur smiled and told Swarup Damodar, "My dear sir, please hear. Just see how opulent my goddess of fortune is. As far as Vrindavan's opulence is concerned, it consists of a few flowers and twigs, some minerals from the hills, a few peacock feathers, and the plant known as Gunja. When Jagannath decided to see Vrindavan, he went there, and upon hearing this, the goddess of fortune experienced restlessness and jealousy. She wondered, why did Lord Jagannath give up so much opulence to go to Vrindavan? To make him a laughing stock, the goddess of fortune made arrangements for such decoration. Then the maidservants of the goddess of fortune said to the servants of Lord Jagannath, why did your Lord Jagannath abandon the great opulence of the goddess of fortune, and for the sake of a few leaves, fruits, and flowers, go to see the flower garden of Srimati Radharani? Your master is so expert at everything, but why does he do such things? Now, bring your master before the goddess of fortune. In this way, all the maidservants of the goddess of fortune arrested the servants of Jagannath, bound them around the waist, and brought them before the goddess of fortune. When all the maidservants brought Lord Jagannath's servants before the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, the Lord's servants were fined and forced to submit. All the maidservants began to beat the Rathayatra car with sticks, and they treated the servants of Lord Jagannath almost like thieves. Finally, all of Lord Jagannath's servants submitted to the goddess of fortune with folded hands, assuring her that they would bring Lord Jagannath before her the very next day. Being thus pacified, the goddess of fortune returned to her apartment. Just see, my goddess of fortune is opulent beyond all description. Srivas Thakur continued to address Swarup Damodar. Your gopis are engaged in boiling milk and churning it into yogurt, but my mistress, the goddess of fortune, sits on a throne made of jewels and gems. Srivas Thakur, who was enjoying the mood of Narada Muni, thus made some jokes. Hearing him, all the personal servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to smile. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Srivas Thakur, my dear Srivas, your nature is exactly like that of Narada Muni. The Supreme Personality of Godhead's opulence is having a direct influence upon you. Swarup Damodar is a pure devotee of Vrindavan. He does not even know what opulence is, for he is simply absorbed in pure devotional service. Swarup Damodar then retorted, my dear Srivas, please hear me with attention. You have forgotten the transcendental opulence of Vrindavan. The natural opulence of Vrindavan is just like an ocean. The opulence of Dwarka and Vaikuntha is not even to be compared to a drop of the opulence of Vrindavan. Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences, and his complete opulences are exhibited only in Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavan Dham is made of transcendental touchstone. Its entire surface is the source of all valuable jewels, and the Chintamani stone is used to decorate the lotus feet of the maidservants of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a natural forest of desire trees and creepers, and the inhabitants do not want anything but the fruits and flowers of those desire trees. In Vrindavan, there are cows that fulfill all desires, Kamadenu, and their number is unlimited. They graze from forest to forest and deliver only milk. The people want nothing else. In Vrindavan, the natural speech of the people sounds like music, and their natural emotion resembles a dance. The water in Vrindavan is nectar, and the Brahma Jyoti effulgence which is full of transcendental bliss, is directly perceived there in its form. The gopis there are also goddesses of fortune, and they surpass the goddess of fortune who abides in Vaikuntha. In Vrindavan, Lord Krishna is always playing his transcendental flute, which is his dear companion. The damsels of Vrindavan, the gopis, are super goddesses of fortune. The enjoyer in Vrindavan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. His trees there are all wish-fulfilling trees, and the land is made of transcendental touchstone. The water is all nectar, the talking is singing, the walking is dancing, and the constant companion of Krishna is his flute. The effulgence of transcendental bliss is experienced everywhere. Therefore, Vrindavan Dham is the only relishable abode. This is a quotation from the Brahma Samhita. The anklets on the damsels of Brajabhumi are made of Chintamani stone. The trees are wish-fulfilling trees, and they produce flowers with which the gopis decorate themselves. There are also wish-fulfilling cows, Kamadhenu, which deliver unlimited quantities of milk. These cows constitute the wealth of Vrindavan. Thus, Vrindavan's opulence is blissfully exhibited. This verse by Bilva Mangala Thakur is quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srivas Thakur then began to dance in ecstatic love. He vibrated sounds by slapping his armpits with the palms of his hands, and he laughed very loudly. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these discussions about the pure transcendental mellow of Srimati Radharani. Absorbed in transcendental ecstasy, the Lord began to dance. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstatic love, and Swarup Damodar was singing, the Lord said, "Go on singing, go on singing." The Lord then extended his own ears. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love was awakened by hearing the songs of Vrindavan. In this way, he inundated Purushottam, Jagannath Puri, with love of Godhead. Finally, the goddess of fortune returned to her apartment. In due course of time, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, afternoon arrived. After much singing, all four Sankirtan parties grew fatigued, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love increased twofold. While dancing, absorbed in Srimati Radharani's ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in her very form. Seeing this from a distant place, Nityananda Prabhu offered prayers. Seeing the ecstatic love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu did not approach but remained a little distance away. Only Nityananda Prabhu could catch Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the ecstatic mood of the Lord would not stop. At the same time, Kirtan could not be continued. Swarup Damodar then informed the Lord that all the devotees were fatigued. Seeing this situation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to his external senses. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then entered the flower garden with all his devotees. After resting there for some time, he took his afternoon bath. Then there arrived in large quantities a variety of food that had been offered to Sri Jagannath, and a variety that had been offered to the goddess of fortune. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finished his afternoon lunch, and after his evening bath, he went to see Lord Jagannath. As soon as he saw Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to chant and dance. Afterward, accompanied by his devotees, the Lord enjoyed sporting in the lake called Nanendra Sarovara. Then entering the flower garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his meal. In this way, he continuously performed all kinds of pastimes for 8 days. The next day, Lord Jagannath came out from the temple and, riding on the car, returned to his own abode. As previously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees chanted and danced with great pleasure. During the Pandu Vijay, Lord Jagannath was carried, and while he was being carried, a bunch of silken ropes broke. When the Jagannath deity is carried, At intervals he is placed on cotton pads. When the ropes broke, the cotton pads also broke due to the weight of Lord Jagannath, and the cotton floated into the air. Ramananda Basu and Satyaraj Khan were present from Kulina Gram, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with great respect, gave them the following orders. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Ramananda Basu and Satyaraj Khan to become the worshippers of these ropes, and every year, bring silken ropes from their village. It is understood that silken rope was being manufactured by the local inhabitants of Kolina Gram. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Basu and Satyaraj Khan to get ropes every year for Lord Jagannath's service. After telling them this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed them the broken silken ropes, saying, "Just look at this sample. You must make ropes that are much stronger." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then informed Ramananda Basu and Satyaraj Khan that this rope was the abode of Lord Shesha, who expands himself into 10 forms and serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After receiving orders from the Lord for rendering of service, the fortunate Satyaraj and Ramananda Basu were highly pleased. Every year thereafter, when the Gundicha temple was being cleansed, Satyaraj and Ramananda Basu would come with other devotees and with great pleasure bring silken rope. Thus, Lord Jagannath returned to his temple and sat on his throne, while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence with his devotees. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed the Rath Yatra ceremony to his devotees and performed the Vrindavan pastimes with them. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are unlimited and endless. Even Sahasravadana, Lord Shesha, cannot reach the limits of his pastime. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, 14th chapter, describing the performance of the Vrindavan pastimes and the Hera Panchami Yatra. So now we're starting on the next chapter, which is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya offers prasada. Text 1. Once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking prasadam at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Amoga criticized him. Still, the Lord accepted the Moga, thereby showing how much he was obligated to his devotees. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. All glories to the listeners of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, who have accepted it as their life and soul. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed at Jagannath Puri, he constantly enjoyed chanting and dancing with his devotees. In the beginning of the day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the deity of Lord Jagannath in the temple. He offered him obeisances and prayers and danced and sang before him. After visiting the temple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would remain outside during the Upala Bhoga offering. He would then go meet Haridas Thakur and return to his residence, purport. At noon, when there was an Upala Bhoga offering in a place called Bhoga Vardhana Kanda, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go outside the temple. Before going outside, he used to go to stand near the Garuda Stamba column and offer his obeisances and prayers. Afterwards, the Lord would visit Siddhabakul, where Haridas Thakur lived. After visiting with Haridas Thakur, the Lord would return to his own place at the abode of Kashi Mishra. Sitting in his room, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would chant on his beads, and Advaita Prabhu would come there to worship the Lord. While worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Charya would offer him scented water to wash his mouth and feet. Then Advaita Charya would smear very fragrant sandalwood pulp all over the body of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would also place a flower garland around the Lord's neck and tulsi flowers or manjaris on his head. Then, with folded hands, Advaita Acharya would offer obeisances and prayers unto the Lord. After being worshipped by Advaita Acharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take the dish containing flowers and tulsi and whatever paraphernalia remained, worship Advaita Acharya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would worship Advaita Acharya by chanting the mantra, whatever you are, but I offer my respects unto you. In addition, the Lord would make some sounds within his mouth that would make Advaita Acharya laugh. In this way, Advaita Acharya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would offer their respectful obeisances unto each other. Then Advaita Acharya would extend an invitation to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again. Indeed, Sri Advaita Acharya's invitation is another wonderful story. It has been very vividly described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Since Advaita Acharya's invitation has been described by Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, I shall not repeat the story, but I shall say that other devotees also extended invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Day after day, one devotee after another would invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the other devotees to lunch and would also hold a festival. All the devotees remained at Jagannath Puri for 4 continuous months, and they observed all Lord Jagannath's festivals with great pleasure. The devotees celebrated the festival of Janmashtami, Krishna's birthday, which is also called Nanda Mahotsava, the festival of Nanda Maharaj. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees dressed themselves as cowherd boys. Having dressed up like cowherd boys, all the devotees carried pots of milk and yogurt balanced on rods over their shoulders. Thus, they all arrived at the festival grounds chanting the holy name of Hari. Kanani Kutiya dressed himself like Nanda Maharaj, and Jagannath Mahiti dressed himself as Mother Yashoda. At that time, King Prataparudra was also personally present with Kashi Mishra, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Tulasi Padicha Patra. As usual, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced jubilantly. Everyone was covered with milk, yogurt, and yellow turmeric water. At this time, Sri Advaita Acharya said, "Please do not be angry. I speak the truth. I shall know that you are a cowherd boy only if you can wheel this rod about." Accepting Advaita Acharya's challenge, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a big rod and began to wheel it around and around. Again and again, he threw the rod into the sky and caught it when it fell. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wheeled and threw the rod sometimes over his head, sometimes behind his back, sometimes in front of him, sometimes to his side, and sometimes between his legs. All the people laughed to see this. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu whirled the rod in a circle like a firebrand, the heart of everyone who saw it was astonished. Nityananda Prabhu also played at whirling the rod. Who could understand how they were ecstatically immersed in the deep emotions of the cowherd boys? Following the orders of Maharaj Prataparudra, the temple superintendent named Tulsi brought one of Lord Jagannath's used cloths. This valuable cloth was wrapped around the head of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The other devotees, headed by Advaita Acharya, who had cloths wrapped about their heads. In ecstasy, Kanani Kutiya, who was dressed as Nanda Maharaj, and Jagannath Mahiti, who was dressed as Mother Yashoda, distributed all the riches they had stocked at home. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly satisfied to see this. Accepting them as his father and mother, he offered them obeisances. In great ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Gauranga Sundara, performed various pastimes. On the day celebrating the conquest of Lanka, a day known as Vijay Dasami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed up all his devotees as monkey soldiers. Displaying the emotions of Hanuman, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took up a large tree branch, and mounting the walls of the Lanka fort, began to dismantle it. In the ecstasy of Hanuman, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu angrily said, "Where is that rascal Ravan? He has kidnapped the universal mother Sita. Now I shall kill him and all his family." Everyone became very much astonished to see the emotional ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and everyone began to chant, all glories," again and again. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees participated in all the festivals, including Rasa Yatra, Diwali, and Uttana Dwadashi. Purport. The Diwali festival takes place on the dark moon night in the month of Kartik, October, November. The Rasa Yatra or Rasa dancing of Krishna takes place on the full moon night of the same month. Uttana Dwadashi takes place the day after Ekadashi in the waxing fortnight of the moon in the same month. All the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu participated in all these festivals. One day, the two brothers, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, consulted with each other while sitting together in a solitary place. No one could understand what the brothers discussed between themselves, but later all the devotees could guess what the subject matter was. Thereafter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for all the devotees and asked them to return to Bengal. In this way, he bade farewell to them. Bidding farewell to all the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested them to return to Jagannath Puri every year to see him and then see the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. So we'll finish there and we'll continue tomorrow evening from text 41. Can you read tomorrow? It's very nice, isn't it? It's really, it's very, very deep, very deep. And you need to have some idea about the other scriptures, the other shastras, in order to appreciate it. This is really deep stuff. It's amazing. It's 17 volumes. This is just one volume. Sri Prabhupada translated from, because Bengali is his language. This is written in Bengali.
And this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.